All right, good morning, everybody. How many times in your life have you said, if you knew what was happening or what was about to happen, you would have done things differently? My name is Seth Rand, and I'm the founder and CEO of Rand Internet Marketing. I've been doing SEO for over 13 years, AdWords for over 8 years, and in 2015 was named to the Google Partner All-Star team. My goal here today is to educate you on what might be happening within your search engine marketing campaigns, whether SEO and or Google AdWords, and empower you to make better, more informed decisions on how to improve those campaigns and the ROI of those efforts. Let's start with Google AdWords. Google advertising is a lot more than just Google search. In 2015, Google did over $74 billion in revenue, with about $50 billion of that coming from its own platforms, such as Google and YouTube, but around $20 billion of that came through its partner network, including the Google AdWords display network. When talking about e-commerce websites and how to generate sales for those sites through Google advertising, there's multiple different types of campaigns to consider. There's Google AdWords search, display, remarketing, and even video ads through YouTube. Very often, shopping will convert better than search because people are going to see the product image and the price before clicking. On the flip side, you have less control over what keywords your Google Shopping ad comes up for. When I recommend people on where to start in terms of Google AdWords to try and get an ROI, I recommend testing search remarketing, display remarketing, shopping, and shopping remarketing campaigns. I'm a big fan of remarketing because typically it has a higher conversion rate than on the first click. If you went into a store and you looked around and you left without making a purchase, if you chose to go back to that store a second time, chances are you're more likely to make a purchase. Otherwise, why would you go back to that store a second time? Now let's talk about your Google AdWords campaign settings. You don't just want to set up the location settings as the entire United States. You want to add each state individually so we can gather data on which states are converting into sales and which aren't. The same thing applies when it comes to dates and times. Generically, people just set up to run 24/7, and then they don't gather the data. Even if you want to run your ads 24/7, you can set up to 6 day and time parts, up to 7 days a week, so 42 combinations. And then you learn which days of the week and which times a day are converting into sales at a higher rate, and then you can do bid adjustments based on that data. There's also the targeting based on device. And so is it desktops or laptops or tablets or mobile phones that are converting into sales? And very often, for example, through the Google AdWords display network, mobile will convert into sales at a much, much lower rate than search. And in some cases, unless you're tracking the phone sales, mobile itself, even on search or shopping, will convert less. Something very big to keep in mind, and my friends at Google would not be happy if I didn't mention, is what we call the cross-browser testing. The fact is that many people do that initial search, that micro moment, on their mobile device, and then later in the day, the following day, later that week, go back from a desktop or laptop to finish that purchase. And so don't just pay attention to that immediate sale, but look at it on a 30, 60, 90-day window. While you're in the Google AdWords settings, I also highly recommend enabling Enhanced CPC, as it gives Google a little extra flexibility to bid higher on searches that Google thinks are going to convert into a sale, just giving them a little extra leash. By setting up the different campaign settings like this, you can then do bid adjustments based on location, date, time, and device, and significantly improve the ROI of your campaigns. Now let's move on to tracking codes. Some people now use Google Tag Manager to make it a little easier to implement these various different tracking codes. First off, you should verify your site with Google Webmaster Tools and create dynamic sitemaps and submit them through there. We'll come back to that more on the SEO side, but you absolutely want to gather the data that Google's going to give you through Webmaster Tools. You want to make sure Google Analytics is integrated site-wide, and very, very important, at the bottom left of Google Analytics is goals. You want to set up your goal tracking and your e-commerce goal tracking. Without that e-commerce goal tracking, there's going to be no actual, factual way of testing and measuring the profitability of your Google AdWords efforts, as well as any of your other internet marketing efforts. You need to install Google AdWords conversion tracking. Has to go on the thank you page after somebody makes a purchase through your WooCommerce site. You may choose to set up other types of conversion tracking. You might want to track, did somebody fill out a contact form? Mobile click to call if you accept phone sales? Did somebody create an account or sign up for our newsletter? Just be careful, because if you track those things in Google AdWords, you're going to see all these additional conversions, but they're not all sales. So it's a choice, but absolutely something that you want to measure. Me personally, I would set those up as goals within Google Analytics to track them there as opposed to tracking them within Google AdWords. Just makes it a little easier to manage the ROI of your AdWords campaigns. You want to install remarketing code site-wide. Again, go back to what I said earlier. If we can get somebody who visited your store already once to choose to come back a second time, the conversion rates typically double, sometimes more. So get that remarketing code installed, and whether you choose to run remarketing through Google AdWords or AdRoll or Steelhouse, they all have their pros and cons, but absolutely I'm a huge fan of remarketing. You're also going to need to set up an account with Google Merchant Center if you want to run a Google Shopping campaign. Just as a side note, once you have the feeds properly working from your WooCommerce site, you may also be able to submit those feeds into Bing Ads for Shopping or eBay or Amazon, so that way the product data flows, hopefully in real time, from your WooCommerce site to those platforms. Lastly, you want to make sure that you connect. You actually have to take the manual step of connecting Google Analytics and Google AdWords. Otherwise, by default, some of the AdWords traffic gets logged as organic SEO traffic within Analytics, and again, your stats are going to be wrong. If you learn anything from today, it's how important it is to capture the accurate data so that way you can make informed decisions and have a more profitable campaign. How do we increase the click-through rate of your Google AdWords ads? There's different types of ad extensions. There's the site link extension, which makes your ad bigger, adds up to 4 additional links, increases your click-through rate. There's the call extensions. For my clients that are lead generating or accept phone sales, tremendous. They call right from the Google ad. Google gives you a free toll-free number. You're just paying for the click, but you got a phone call right out of it. So if you're set up to accept those phone sales, absolutely use the call extension. If you have a physical retail store, and WooCommerce is an extension of that, absolutely have a Google My Business account and set up the location extension. I would caution you to set up the settings appropriately where you're running Google AdWords in a hyper-local area with the location extension, and nationally for your WooCommerce site. Don't mix the two. One of the newer extensions is called call-out extensions. So you can have a call to action, like 10% off a purchase of $50 or more, whatever it might be. One of the newer extensions and seems to be working well. Overall, if you do the things that we just talked about, you are light years beyond what somebody setting up a Google AdWords account for the first time is, and you have all that data. And now with that data, you can more effectively optimize those campaigns. Let's move on to SEO. We already talked about Webmaster Tools and Sitemaps, Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics. We talked about Google My Business, so that way you could set up a location extension, but of course, the Google My Business account is also what controls the local results and the map results that come up in Google, which again, for that hyper-local area, really have a high click-through rate. When I talk about SEO, I split it into two. What I call the on-site SEO and the off-site SEO. On-site SEO hasn't changed that much over the past few years. It's changed a lot over the last 13 years, but over the last few years, not so much. You'll see on the screen things like the URL structure, title tags, meta descriptions, meta keywords, the heading tags H1, H2 through H6, the category names in WooCommerce, subcategory names, the product names, all of these things utilizing your target keywords within them. Even the descriptions on the page, the internal linking from those categories, subcategories, from the footer links, are they using the keywords within those internal linking, within the anchor text? Sometimes even the file names of the images. So instead of calling the picture image123.jpg, call it GoPro drone 123. Use the keywords within it. And then the alt tag, the alternate text tags on those images. Caution, don't overdo it. No keyword stuffing. Don't just add the keywords for the sake of the keywords, but slide it in where it still feels natural, but accomplishes the goal. And as we mentioned earlier, submit dynamic sitemaps through Google Webmaster Tools. Now we're going to quickly hit on some of the off-site stuff before they kick me off the stage. Basic things still to do: off-site blogging, Blogger, Blogspot, WordPress.com, Tumblr. It helps. Press releases, PR Web, PR Newswire, Business Wire, some of the free ones, it helps. But it's not enough in a competitive industry just to do those things. Same thing with social bookmarking site submissions. Sites like Dig, Delicious, StumbleUpon, Reddit, it's good, but it's just not enough. What Google looks for today is high domain authority, high page authority, high quality links. How do we get those to your site? Use Moz Open Site Explorer to see who's linking to your competitors. If they're linking to your competitors, there's a good chance we might be able to get them to link to you. And the last one is really a tidbit, is the scholarship. We've come up with a plan on how to institute a one student a year, $1,000 college scholarship. But submit that scholarship to over 500 universities around the country. You might get 20, 30, 40 of them to pick it up and link back to your website. It'll help your PR, it'll help your social engagement, it'll help your backlinks, and in my experience, it'll drive thousands, if not tens of thousands of additional users to your website. Thank you so much for your time today. I will be available for Q&A through the rest of the conference. Feel free to connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn. More than happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.